are.
You're just a know-it-all, always jump the gun and say it all, beat me to the punch. Did your research, got the grade, just makes you, I know it all.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday to my sweet, adorable, squishy little baby sister. I know what you're going to say.
You're barely older than me.
Yup, that. Ah, your birth. I remember it fondly.
From your crib?
I had just awoken from a glorious nap and was enjoying a sippy cup of apple juice when I was whisked away by our dear grandmama
I wasn't aware I was born in 19th century Britain.
to our mother's bedside,
You do not remember this.
where a gloopy, screaming, funny-smelling alien creature was thrust before me.
You were not old enough to form memory.
And I promptly said,
Chicky Tenny!
Indeed, I mistook my dear baby sister for the chickens that Mom and Grandma used to turn into my favorite meal.
I've always wondered if Grandma made that story up.
And so, today, we celebrate the anniversary of the time I did not insist that you be fried and battered for my delicious consumption with ketchup by eating chicken tenders. Oh, I assume you had the ones I had special delivered. Yeah.
Thank you very much for officially cursing me to eat chicken tenders on my birthday every year for the rest of my life.
You are welcome for that, by the way. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
I know this year I can't drag you to every bar in town until we watch the sunrise from your roof.
There was a good birthday.
Promise me you won't spend the whole night pouting in your room alone.
I cannot promise that.
Promise.
Fine.
So, I hear you're seeing a girl.
Oh, hold on. And speak of the devil. Happy birthday. How you holding up? Dirty stuff. Yada, yada, yada. How can anyone commit to anything when we cannot leave our houses?
Tell me everything. Especially because I thought you were seeing a boy?
Oh, Mom. Leave it to Mom to turn a happy birthday text into a panic attack. Jeez. I know you think that I should take it easy on her, but she's always overreacting. Why are you overreacting, Mom? No reason. She still won't go to therapy.
Because I thought you were seeing a boy?
I was seeing a boy, a guy, a man, but that's definitely not worth committing to if we can't leave our houses.
Tell me everything in your next missive, okay? And I'm serious, don't just stay in your house pouting tonight. Get out. Go hang out with your friends. Celebrate. It's your birthday.
Joke's on you. Global pandemic. I win.
And I know 2016 is gonna be your year.
Yeah, did not work out that way.
I love you. Enjoy the chicky tendies.
Every year. Your dying gift to me couldn't have been a nice bottle of wine, chocolate truffles. You couldn't have died immediately after that birthday we went to that fancy French restaurant. No, you, the gourmet foodie, had to saddle me with ordering a pseudo meat product every year in your honor on my birthday. It almost feels planned, except for the unexpected and untimely death part. Not that I could have gone to the French place anyway. What a weird ass time. What a weird ass year. But not the weirdest. Thankfully, I'm well versed in how to survive the end of the world. Drink, cry, don't try to make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's completely unfair. How to survive the end of the world. Drink, curse, it's worse if you try to make it better. You can make it better. You just have to do your best to make it. Everyone's saying this is the apocalypse. Great, I'm all set. Thanks to my know-it-all brother. When it comes to the end of the world, there's a couple of things I know. Because my world ended 4 years ago. How to survive the end of the world. Breathe, drink, don't think about what it used to be like. There's no going back to normal, so don't bother trying. But in between crying and drinking and breathing and cursing, you'll find yourself surviving, which isn't a thing I knew I could do without you. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I don't recommend it. When it feels like the end, it isn't. I don't know how you do it, but how to survive the end of the world. You just live through it.
Okay, so I know it's like against your religion to even boil a pot of water, but Gibby and I made the most amazing recipe, and you have to try it. You'll only have to go to like 3 specialty stores to get the ingredients, and it only takes like 2-3 hours tops to make. Kidding. It's super easy. Call me later and we'll talk you through it.
You would be so proud of me. I made mac and cheese, which, in case you didn't know, requires you to not only boil water, but to mix a little packet of cheese powder with real ingredients, like milk and butter, which I already had in my refrigerator, so I didn't have to go out and get. So I'm being extra responsible because I stayed inside and I cooked.
Do you remember that Nostradamus thing? That time that I convinced you that Nostradamus predicted that Tom Hanks would win the Oscar? What year was that? I want to put it in my vows.
Today, I keep thinking about all the things you are adamant about that just are not true. 1, that you thought I genuinely believed that Nostradamus thing. 2, that tomato avocado fruit salad joke was funny. And 3, that you say caramel. It's caramel. It's pronounced caramel. It's a travesty that you have given me no recourse ever to correct you on these sadly misheld beliefs.
So, I was thinking of making Gibby Grandmama's caramel cake for the anniversary of our first date, but I am not exactly on speaking terms with Mom right now. Don't ask. Anyway, I was thinking that as her favorite, you maybe wanted to do me a favor and say it's for you. I know, she'll never believe it, but maybe you could say you wanted to archive it for future generations. Or that a friend...
Hey doll, how you doing?
I made caramel cake.
Ah, how is it?
It's only okay. I could never get the frosting right.
That's because you never use the right condensed milk.
What does it matter what kind you use?
You have to home make it.
That is so much work.
Then don't complain about the frosting being wrong.
You sound like him.
Oops.
This is supremely fucked, but everything reminds me of him. So, people dying suddenly and tragically is a thing that reminds me of my brother.
Tragic sudden death and homemade condensed milk.
The legacy he would have wanted.
I sent your mom some stuff. The stores are pretty well stocked out here, but I know she was still having trouble getting delivery.
Well, she didn't tell me. She doesn't talk about anything. Every time we talk, it's like everything's been normal for the past 4 years, except for the big gaping holes in the conversation.
She doesn't talk to me either, just texts me to get me off her back.
Well, lucky you. I have to talk to her, which means it's just me not talking about it. So it's all I can think about.
I've been going on walks in the cemetery. I think maybe that's morbid, but I kind of like it. I can't be in the cemetery and not think about him, but it's nice to think about it. I like to think about him. I hate trying not to think about him. Makes me so sad. It's way worse. It's better just to think about him.
This is really twisted, but it's been kind of nice not being the only sad one. The whole world is sad.
Yeah.
I feel like there are all these threads in my brain. There's the thread that's him and who he is and was, and then there's the thread of what happened to him. And there's the thread that's my life, which is wholly separate and has nothing to do with him and exists with or without him. And then there's the thread of now, where everything stops and people are just dying. And for a while, all the threads were just sort of tangled up and my brain was a jumble. And I did all of this work to separate them. And I did separate them, finally, sort of. And then this happened, and now it's just a giant knot.
Oh my God, I have something for you. I found this video. I thought we lost it because I couldn't get into his phone, but it was hiding in our joint cloud. I have to go, but I'm sending it now.
Fine.
Move over. You're not in the frame.
It's fine. We do this all the time.
Ugh, your hair. You just.
Are you ready?
Yeah, sorry. Action.
This morning I had an idea for a new comic about an alien race that discovers Earth, but they're subatomic. So the critique is part adventure sci-fi and part socioeconomic. So give me a call, we'll talk it through. I'm thinking pop art, I'm thinking blue. We'll hash it out, we'll have a laugh. Let me run this by my better half. The other day I was thinking about the revolution and what'll replace oligarchy, cause we need a solution that mixes small-scale mutual aid with large-scale distribution. So give me a call, we'll talk it through. Something grassroots, something new. I'll make a chart, you'll make a graph when I run this by my better half.
Hey, I thought I was your better half.
You are, when it comes to most things, but you think Dad and Mom's +1 of the month all at the wedding together will be fine.
It will be fine.
Your blind sense of optimism is astounding.
That's why you love me.
It is. It is also why you can't help me with this. This requires sardonic realism. Also an interference plan for the entire event. My ideas make sleepless nights when they're running through just my head. Visions of disaster till you talk me off the ledge. Only you can punctuate the things I haven't said. So give me a call, cause I need you, my diplomat and my super glue. We'll grab a glass of wine or a carafe and make my ideas make sense. That's why I run them by my better half.
Great. Now let's just do one more take.
I think we got it.
No, just one more angle.
Babe.
Ugh.
Happy birthday to my sweet, adorable, squishy little baby sister. I know what you're going to say. Yep, that. Ah, your birth. I remember it fondly. I had just awoken from a glorious nap and was enjoying a sippy cup of apple juice when I was whisked away by our dear grandmama to our mother's bedside, where a gloopy, screaming, funny-smelling alien creature was thrust before me. And I promptly said, "Chicky Tandy!" Indeed, I mistook my dear baby sister for the chickens that Mom and Grandma used to turn into my favorite meal. And so, today, we celebrate the anniversary of the time I did not insist that you be fried and battered for my delicious consumption with ketchup by eating chicken tenders. Oh, I assume you had the ones I had special delivered. Yeah? You are welcome for that, by the way. Happy birthday. I know this year I can't drag you to every bar in town until we watch the sunrise from your roof. But promise me you won't spend the whole night pouting in your room alone. Promise. So, I hear you're seeing a girl. Tell me everything. Especially because I thought you were seeing a boy? Tell me everything in your next missive, okay? And I'm serious, don't just stay in your house pouting tonight. Get out. Go hang out with your friends. Celebrate. It's your birthday. And I know 2016 is gonna be your year. I love you. Enjoy the chicky tendies.
There is a hole inside me, empty and deep. There is a sadness there inside me, too big to keep. It is a cut, it is a tear, it will get bigger. First my brother, one day my grandma, and then my mother. Everyone I love that I outlive will just be there. Be there. When you were gone, just gone, I had a shadow of your voice and your face. Now the world, the whole world is just a shadow, a digital trace. It's so weird, 'cause they return, but you'll remain my shadow brother. I'll lose you all over again. Everyone I love that I outlive will just be there. Be there. And the hole gets so big that it's all I can feel. But that's how I know that the love that I have is concrete and real. The depth of my sadness is the depth of my love.
The depth of my sadness is the depth of my love.
The depth of my sadness is the depth of my love. The depth of my sadness is the depth of my love. The depth of my sadness is the depth of my love.
How to survive the end of the world.
Everyone I love that I outlive, I'll still
Yay! Hi, everybody. Yay! Amazing. That was so fantastic. I'm Megan Finn, the artistic director of The Tank, and I'm so excited to be joined by the creators of How to Survive the End of the World and the incredible cast that's here to talk with us about the process of making a musical in quarantine. And what a successful job you all did. I'm just like moved and delighted, and oh my God, what voices, and holy cow, thinking of your neighbors, Hannah, while you're singing that in your apartment. And the amazing, and not only amazing performances, Dylan and Greg, but also thinking about Dylan's amazing cinematography through the apartment.
The choreo and the sing and talk. Like West Wing, but gayer, you know?
We ended up shooting a full music video.
It was brilliant. Brilliant. So we're going to start off with just talking a little with you guys, but anyone who's watching at home, thanks for tuning in. And if you have questions or thoughts for the team, just go ahead and throw it in the YouTube chat, and we'll get to that in just a second. So first, Ella Rose Chary and Brandon James Gwinn are regular Tank artists. They're our curators of our Tank Ray series, and also, or have been till now, till the incredible Sam Cassetta, who's joining them for the future. But yes, Sam, if you're out there. But yeah, so why don't you both tell us a little bit about how you decided to make this?
You want to take that one, Ella?
Sure. It's kind of funny because our first thing was we don't want to make a short thing that's right now. It felt like everybody was sort of jumping on this thing of we're gonna make stuff right now, and we were in the midst of feeling sad that the things that we had going on were being canceled, and we weren't really sure what to do with all of those feelings. And then and also just the world was really sad, and there was a lot of really bad things happening that had nothing to do with theater. And then we thought, well, how do we create the thing that we're losing, which felt like a community space and the queer space, and the stuff that we were working on. So we made the Instagram project at Things I Don't Say project. And in doing that, we asked our friends to make videos for the project, and Hannah and Dylan made an amazing video of this song that they had performed for us previously, which you can watch there right now. And in watching that video, we were suddenly like, oh, I would watch more of this. We want to watch more of this. And so we thought, well, let's do something that we can do with our friends that would be this. And at the same time, I was having a lot of feelings about how weird it was that there was all of this loss going on. And it was sort of bringing up feelings that I hadn't felt in a long time about what happened with my brother. And it felt weird. I have this like birthday voicemail from him it was around my birthday, and I have this birthday voicemail that I listened to that's from him. It's the last birthday voicemail he left me. And that's normally very unique, is that like I see people on my birthday, but then this year I didn't see anyone on my birthday. Everyone was leaving me voicemail, or I was talking to them on the phone, and that brought up that sort of disconnect. And when we were talking about that, we were talking about the pandemic, we were trying to figure out what we could make. It all just sort of came together. And I think the most important thing also, though, was that we were like, what can we actually do? What we knew we'd be putting a lot on the actors. We knew that Brandon and I couldn't do the thing, that we needed people that would be excited about and want to do the thing, and also who had the ability to do that. And so all of those pieces were there, and then we came up with it.
I love that. Yeah, I think that it's been, immediately in March, when we're all kind of navigating how, Monday, everyone said, live your life and go to a restaurant. And then Thursday, Broadway was like, we're closing. And then and all of us were like, okay, what's next? And really I love that story. It's really you as artists and collaborators that had this spark that then sparked the two of you in your writing process. I'm wondering, Brandon, what was this like how was your collaboration with Ella different when you're having to do it via Zoom, and how was it?
I mean, Ella and I think that part of the nature of like being a musical theater writer, when you're, sort of at the beginning of your career is that you probably have 17 other jobs that make sure the lights stay on. So Ella and I have been kind of, working remotely anyway a lot for a number of years, and some parts of the songs and the material are made with just me and some are just made with just her, and then we put them together in post, as it were, and then sometimes we create things in the room together. And it's just kind of, it's that old question that everyone asks musical theater writers is what comes first, the music or the lyrics? Like, there's not really a real answer to that. And with Ella and myself, it's especially, there's not really an answer to that. We've always kind of created everything in the room together, even when we couldn't do that. So really it wasn't the first time that we've gotten on a FaceTime to write something. I think with this one in particular, it was like, we're not just writing something remotely, we're writing something that's going to be made remotely. And I think we had that in mind the whole time we were writing it. We went to Dylan and Greg and Hannah with, I don't even know if we had really a script yet. I think we might have had like the beginnings of a script and no songs or anything, maybe some outlines, to say like, is this something you'd want to make with us? Because we weren't writing something that was supposed to be on stage at any point. We were writing it so that we could make it in this medium, in this format. And if they hadn't been like gung-ho to do whatever the hell we asked them to do, I probably just would never, have written it. So, but yeah, it was the same in a lot of ways, but also very different because you can't rehearse music traditionally. A lot of it is so much back and forth, and you really have to trust, the actors, because we were like, this is what we wrote. Now we need you to go and interpret it without us watching or having any input at all, and then bring it back to us. And then we, it's just back and forth, which feels like it would be slow, but it didn't really feel slow to me this time somehow. Yeah.
So Hannah, talk a little bit about the process, when you guys started working on this together. And I imagine when I see all this brilliant stuff that I'm seeing online, by the way, can I just say something a little controversial?
Yes.
If you out there viewers, if you just haven't seen anything you like online, you should watch more stuff. There's so much good stuff. It's like, before you write your op-ed, just watch a few more things. Anyway, so Hannah, I often think this is like the art of the self-tape, like it, times exponentially this whole period for actors that are just kind of embarking on this creative endeavor. So can you talk a little bit about what that was like for you? And how did you guys arrive on the takes? How did you arrive on the choices?
Well, I actually quite liked kind of doing things on my own with no one watching. I felt like a kind of ease about it. I've always been, I think I'm way more suited to camera acting than I am theater acting. So I felt pretty comfortable with it. And I think, what did we do? Like 2 or 3 takes of everything. And then we sent them to Brandon and Ella and they chose which takes they liked the best. I will say one of the most difficult sequences was doing the birthday video with the interjections into the How to Survive the End of the World. Cause I don't have my laptop's very old and I don't have AirPods and it was I have really shitty airplane headphones that I got for free on the airplane. That's what I have. So I had to use those.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. And so I had to prop my phone up on my laptop as I walked through my apartment, and I think you have one of the bloopers where it just falls. My phone just falls during the take. So that was really hard to get that one take. But
well, I love that. I love that though, because it's so great. It's and it's like kids at home. Look, it's beautiful, and watching your performance, and I was just so moved, and it was lovely. So see, you can have a broken computer and a phone that barely can stand up. You can just take your earphones you got free on the airplane.
And you can do a lot with a little.
You can do a lot with little. So Dylan and Greg, what a fun! The whole number, and with the shower curtain and it's just so fun. How did you make that together, and how has this been to work on together?
Well, yeah, I would say one big difference between the self-tape and this process was a sense of like mutual trust going in that we as the actors have with Brandon and Ella, who like we have this sort of really positive, long-standing working relationship with them. In an audition scenario, you're like kind of trying to fit some idea of what you think they might want, whereas they, Brandon and Ella let us know off the bat, like, go with your gut, trust your instincts, and then in return, like we sort of just trust that like whatever we give them, they'll make sense. With that particular song, Greg, like
I had some ideas.
Greg,
Light bulb.
like directed me.
Yeah.
Well, it was sort of lucky because obviously we were quarantining together because we're betrothed, and affianced.
Congrats.
But it was interesting because we sort of just like kept trying stuff as we went, and we never really knew what we could do or what would work. And like, so we did takes of that particular song with just like him singing straight into camera.
Yeah,
and
we did
him,
like a stiff take of me in front of a
bopping.
curtain, which I think was used for the audio.
And then we had this idea of like promenading through the apartment, and Dylan was like, well, once I get to the government stuff with like the whatever, that could be in the kitchen, and the bathroom could be this, and our apartment is just set up that it's just like one long thing. And then as we were doing that, there was discoveries of like how we can make this a fun thing, but also still be in the world of that this person would be sending a video like that to their sister. But there was like a lot of discovery that we did not plan.
I think in a micro way regarding this song.
In a microwave.
Where's the song in the microwave?
Yeah, well,
it's coming.
There's a shot in the fridge, but I do think limitations breed creativity in that sense. The limitations of our apartment sort of gave us a lot to work with in terms of that song. I think in a similar way that the limitations of this medium gave Brandon and Ella a lot to work with in terms of the musical itself. It's like sometimes the more confined you are, the more free you feel counterintuitively to just kind of go with your gut. And I think the outcome.
And they're also just super supportive and super amazing to work with. Like every time we would be second guessing ourselves, they were like, this is more than we ever thought that would happen. And so it was just kind of like an exciting, it was sort of like a, can we even do this? And it turned into a like, yes, of course we can. And it's cooler than we were anticipating.
And it was something to do. In a moment where like,
right. Something
I was like, do I have the creative bandwidth to deal with this? And I'm like, oh, I'm literally doing nothing else. I'm fully unemployed. Yeah, let's go for it.
It's also just so there's a kind of, it's very intimate to see people in their own homes, and you're seeing a part of them you never knew before. But also, we all know that you're, there's a sort of, we know we're suspending our disbelief and following the story, but we all know you're in quarantine.
Right.
We all are.
Which is why it's kind of theater too,
right.
That's kind of a part of theater is like, I'm watching this, but I'm also pretending with you.
Well, I wanted to say also about that too, because one of the things we were really clear about is that we're not filmmakers. Like there's nobody on this piece who is like the film director of this piece. We don't have a director credit because everyone was kind of the director, and we knew that going in, and we didn't go and find someone who is like a filmmaker to help us make a film. And we didn't think of this, and we call it the film, but I kept saying it's a musical. I don't know that it's a film. It's not exactly theater because the musical theater is this other thing, but what are the things that we know how to do? We are not people who like have a lot of experience making film. We're people who have a lot of experience making musical theater or making musicals as a storytelling thing. And so we tried to rely on that skill set, I think, in the creation of it, with the writing of it, but also in the discussions that we had at our rehearsals with the actors. And as Dylan said, the limitations that were on us really became a sort of, well, how can we use those to do it? And so we did those tapes on the phones of the different scenes, and then we live recorded the Zoom scene in Zoom, because we were thinking about how do we what do we have available to us? We do have a lot of things available. We don't just have, like, there are tools that we can make a part of the thing that we're doing. And I also really have to shout out the other people who helped us with this who weren't on the call, which is Ellen Winter recorded the song for us. That's the pop song. And so we were thinking about different musical modes, which is a thing you think about in a musical. And so we thought, well, let's write a pop song. And then Ellen recorded it like a pop song, which was different from how we did the musical theater songs. And then Adriana Lombardi, at Age, who was our one of our sort of ASM filled in for us in the ASM on the Seance Machine at the Tank. And we were just like, do you want to do this with us? And she was like, sure. And we knew that we needed somebody to be a stage manager, basically. And like, we're just kind of like, oh, you're the like AD, which is the film equivalent, but also we're like, you're the stage manager. This project needs a stage manager. And she helped us with that and keeping things organized. And we really couldn't have done a lot of it without having those people part of it too. So we thought of it like theater.
I really thought that the pop-ups, the news pop-ups really got me. I was like, because we all have our news pop-ups every day. And it's a very kind of jarring thing to think about, that feeling of having someone, having that moment where you realize you might be escaping soon, quarantine, and just like, and all the things that come with that. Anyway, it was great. Anthony, I don't know if we have any questions. Do we have any questions out there? Anthony is backstage. I don't even know how we get. Not yet. Okay, I just wanted to I just wanted to ask about the other side of this, which is what's been hard about this for you, and I think there's so much positive about this, but what's been hardest for you, and what maybe also, what discoveries have you made about yourself that as we maybe start to think about moving out of this, although we're waiting to find out, that you think will have changed or informed you as an artist? Brandon?
So what's hard about quarantine, or what was hard about making the
quarantine? About quarantine as for your artistic self, but what are the things that you think you've learned about yourself as an artist, and what are you going to take with you?
I think that the thing I've been thinking about a lot is like, I'm from, I mean, it's been many years, but I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and I didn't move to one of the most expensive, crowded, craziest places in the world to just stay in my apartment 24 hours a day. I think that most of the reason I didn't have very much to write about being a 15-year-old in Nashville, Tennessee, and I had to come here to have things to write about. And so like the experiential nature of being in the world of New York is something that informs very much the way that I write, what I want to write about, why I want to write it. And that felt very much taken away for a time. I couldn't experience it in the way that I preferred to. And then there was this adaptive thing that I think we've all seen happen, where we're experiencing it almost a lot more. It's like, I feel like I'm way more aware of what's going on in the world on a by-minute basis than I ever was before quarantine. And I think that if you're writing is somehow not in conversation with that, then what are you doing it for? And so I think that that's it's made me re-engage with a lot of things. I'll tell you, for crying out loud, that when Broadway reopens, I'll go twice a week, damn it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It made me really grateful for the things that that I took for granted before, but it's also made me like reinvest in like just putting your head down and getting some damn work done and being a writer, and like engaging with the world and then writing about it, or engaging the world and then having a conversation about it, or engaging with the world and then going and doing something that is Ella can speak more to about this, is like more like being an activist, or more being engaging with what you're seeing happening in the world rather than seeing it and reporting on it as a writer.
Right.
So it felt very limiting at first, and now it feels, I think we can all say that the status quo is, I've gotten a little comfortable with it. It's not quite as, it doesn't feel as immediately horrible as it did or as immediately like,
Sure.
like, apocalyptic as it did for a number of weeks. But, I think that, I think it's made me work a little harder, work a little smarter. I had no idea if I could edit this thing we decided to make. Just like I had no idea if I could sound design the seance machine, and someone needs to stop me from saying yes to these things I don't know how to do.
Sorry, Brandon.
Somebody just needs to like stop me. But you know, I took on the challenge, and I mean, this thing was edited on iMovie, which is how people edit their like vacation pictures and their vacation slideshows and shit. So I don't know. I think that we drew a line in the sand. I'm sorry, I'm going on too long. We drew a line in the sand, and we were like, are we writers or aren't we? We could wait around for theater to be something like what it was before this, or we could just keep making theater somehow. And I have to throw it to Ella for that, because she's the like hustler and champion of all hustlers and champions when it comes to just being a fucking writer. Can I say fuck? I just said it.
Yeah, my kids are in the other room, so
okay,
they're like screaming right now, so they can't hear you.
Okay.
I want to go to Hannah and just pose the same question, and what you've kind of discovered about your artistry lately.
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like before the quarantine, I was very much avoiding what I do. And I don't know, just trying to like figure out what I really want in this business and what I really want in this career, and whether I like it or not. I've been really forced to sit with myself and evaluate like who I am, not only as an artist, but just as a human, and what I have to give and what I have to offer. Those are the same things, but it's been interesting. I even was, I was nervous I wasn't even going to be able to sing it, because I don't really sing anymore, which is a strange thing. I feel like every time I come off a long contract, I like don't sing for a year, and I had previously gotten off a long contract, and I'm still in that phase where I'm not really singing. So I was pretty nervous to do it, to be honest, especially because it's so high. But
I told you I would change the key.
I know, but I don't like to change the key.
Nobody
I'm too
wants
stubborn.
to change the key.
I'm too stubborn.
It's just it's glorious. It's glorious. It's so you have such a gift. It is such, I mean it from my heart. It's just to hear it just fills me, it's so incredible. I just have to say that unabashedly.
That means a lot to me. Thank you. That's very nice.
It's like it's hard. One thing that's hard when you work in a theater and you constantly see shows is a longing to see work, because you're used to it. And when you hit that note, it really got me. So I just it'll get me through tonight and the next few days.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Dylan and Greg, same question to you both. How have you been supporting each other through this? Has it been? And I'm sure it's not a picnic.
Well, the little unemployment bonus helps, although that's out in July. So if you haven't yet signed the petition to get your senators to keep that through,
sign it.
I work as a personal trainer and swim instructor. Greg works as a bartender. We also both work like actively as theater performers. All of that work is like post phase 4, so there's no there's no reason to believe we'll be making any other kind of money anytime soon. We're also currently planning a wedding, so on a personal level, I would count that as a difficulty. I would say as actors, I'm sorry, I can't have to keep anyone too long, but also I would say as actors, we're both sort of reimagining and recalibrating how much we want to be focused specifically on stage musical theater versus film, television, voiceover. We've been incrementally investing in pieces of equipment that may help us transition more to the virtual side of things. I also write musical theater as well as other stuff, and there have been.
And I inspire him.
He's my muse, among other
I also
things.
Inspire him. So.
Yeah, and a human with his own agency, but my muse as well.
I don't have my own agency.
Well, he just started his own agency, and
I'm
he's
way
going to
funnier,
represent
obviously.
both of us. No, from the writing side, the the creative output has ebbed and flowed. There have been months where I'm like writing every day, and there have been months where I literally don't work on anything at all. I'll throw it to Greg in terms
No,
of...
it's just been a balancing act. I mean, it's taking time for yourself and then not judging yourself for taking that time, and then just sort of re-energizing yourself to then make a thing, and then to congratulate yourself for making a thing when barely anyone can do anything. It's sort of just like, just be kind to yourself, and if you feel like making something, and if you feel like, you know, taking a class, like I took a commercial class on Zoom and like showcase for agencies and redid my website, and I was like, okay, I did that, and like took a month off. Like you just kind of have to
Yeah.
So I was like, great, did that. But like you just kind of have to go with your gut, and I feel like it's no different than not being trapped in your apartment, but it's way harder to do it when you're trapped in your apartment. But yeah.
The last thing I would
trying to support each other and not fight too much, scream at each other.
The last thing I would like sort of pin on to that as a tag, speaking to what I think a couple of other people have said about this sort of seismic shift in the cultural consciousness that we're all collectively experiencing. I think that as artists, we have a kind of a responsibility to be cognizant of that. But B, I think in a way we are more prepared than other workers in other industries to sort of adapt. I know all of us have had different survival careers, and we have shorter term sort of spans of employment. So having to land on your feet when the rest of the ground has turned into lava is something that I think a lot of us have a built-in ability.
Well said. No, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm optimistic on that front, because I think that the world is changing necessarily, and we're all going to have to sort of be a part of that.
And hence, how to survive the end of the world.
True.
Well, let's just hear from you, Ella, just about the experience of writing this. Has it been, on a personal note, has it been therapeutic for you in this moment at all? And what you've learned about yourself and your work right now.
Sure. Well, I think what's interesting in listening to everyone talk too, I think that we're actually in a different moment than the moment we were when we wrote it. And when we wrote it, we were really in the thick of like this pandemic moment and thinking about how this pandemic was affecting us, but also was affecting our community and affecting New York City. And I was thinking about when this was when we were writing this, I was overcome with frustration and grief and anger about the way that certain members of our community were being treated very differently than others. I would get upset every day about how our unhoused neighbors were being treated during the pandemic, how our neighbors who were in Rikers and in jail and prison and in detention centers, most of them unrightfully, because we should end mass incarceration and we should abolish prisons. But in addition to that, that was something I was thinking about a lot. And so thinking about loss and feeling loss was a thing that I was very aware of. And so when I was writing it, it was like, this is more personal than a lot of the things that Brandon and I write. We often write things that are more starkly political, but in some ways this was like that personal is political, because this was not about COVID. It was about grief and loss. And that was a thing that I was feeling. And then in this moment, it's strange because I personally am feeling some grief and loss this week, and in a different way than I was at the beginning, like when we wrote this. But in the moment, in the global world, I actually am feeling like we're now in the middle of this political revolution, and I'm feeling a lot of hope about the revolution, but also determination. And I've been doing a lot less of theater making and thinking a lot less about theater making, because the time that I would normally have to dedicate to that, I've been trying to dedicate, as Brandon said, to like being a part of that movement and what can I bring to it. And it's not always writing is not always the thing that's needed. Like right now, the thing that's needed from the people who are most directly affected and my neighbors who are dealing with it's not the other pandemic, the pandemics. We're talking about how there are multiple pandemics, and one of them is racism and state violence, and one of them is this health crisis, which is intertwined. And then I think that like I wouldn't write this if we wrote it now. And I don't know what the thing that we're going to write about now is, but I also think that the work that Brandon and I have been doing that always is kind of about queerness and the queer community and what it means to be like a white queer person and what it means to be a cis queer person is really important. And what was important about this piece was that it was very queer. Like we wrote this piece, we knew that the characters were going to be queer. When we talked about limitations earlier, like, or not limit, but like the sort of parameters, we were really excited to be able to include Greg. We wanted to have a third character. We didn't want to bring in another. We liked that, like, we were like, great, we can create this other present relationship for her because we know that Greg and Dylan are like going to be able to do this together. And so there's this implicit queerness for both of them, but the piece is about this other thing. And so I think like right now that is those stories of queerness and the stories that we've been telling about queerness at the Tank and other places continue to be the thing that I'm thinking about. But I am also just thinking about like what it means to be an artist and an activist and what it means to have a community that is the theater community that we're part of. How do we activate that? How do we bring that towards this moment that we're in, which is not the moment that we wrote this in? And so what I think like, you asked about like myself or like where, like what I like learned about myself or whatever. But I think that one of the things is like Brandon said, I'm often very motivated with this like forward thinking about what are we going to write next? What are we going to do with our show? How do we keep writing? Because there's often times when you're a writer in New York, and as long as we've been doing this, there's not always something on the table where somebody's expecting something from you. A lot of times you do have to like meet weekly whether or not somebody wants you to, and you have to keep writing whether or not somebody tells you to, so that when the opportunities come, you're ready. But we haven't been doing that as much because we've been, meeting weekly to make phone calls to city council, or we've been like, I've been putting that energy and space into this other thing, but I think it's all connected. I think it all forms each other. And I don't think it's separate in any way. And so the thing that I've been saying a lot is that whatever happens next for theater and for theater artists, the only path forward to me is for us as a theater community to understand that universal health care, universal basic income, and universal housing guarantees are going to make theater better. If we can make those things happen in the world, then the theater industry will be transformed in so many ways. And we can't achieve those things in the theater. We have to achieve those things outside of the theater, but they are directly related, because think of all the artists at the Tank who'd be able to make more work if they had those things. And who'd be able to like, so that's where I'm at right now.
That's great. And I think, I think activism and art, being an artist and being an activist are both lifelong pursuits. Maybe it's good for us in the sense as theater artists, we've had this pause, right? Where we've been forced to like stop this cycle. OMG, this is our lives. It's all falling through our fingers. The hustle to just be here and make. Yeah. But then when you stop and you have a moment where you're shifting to activism, or if you've been an activist before, but now you're shifting your focus. They're lifelong pursuits, and you learn that there's a time. You can hear screaming in the background potentially. Those are my kids. You learn that there's a time in your life where you need to give yourself that space. As Dylan said, you need to be kind to yourself and say, you know what, I'm not making right now, but now I need to focus on calling the council people. So it's this, that's what I need to be doing right now with my time. So it's about giving yourself permission to follow your heart and continue to do the work, whatever you need to do in that moment for your community. And it's true. It's all connected to us as artists, but also the people that we're making for. So, and a nice segue to just say that this is also part of Pride Fest, which is happening right now at the Tank. So please, if you've enjoyed this, you can share this with your friends. Maybe a little plug, Brandon, all the social real fast. We'll put it in the chat, but where can they find out more? Where can you tell your friends about this musical, and where can you find out more about the project?
Great. You can always see whatever Ella and I are up to at www.brandonandella.com. And then we have created, we're in the midst of curating a space for queer artists on Instagram, which is at Things I Don't Say Project. Right now we're releasing something once a day for the next couple of days in honor of Pride Weekend, yay. And the video of Dylan and Hannah singing a song from our musical Cotton Candy and Cocaine, which they were in a workshop of a few years ago, that inspired us to say, well, that looks like something I'd like to see more of, that we made How to Survive because of that. That is currently the featured video on that Instagram. So
great. So go check it out. And if you want to check out more Cybertank programming, you can go to www.thetanknyc.org. I still know how to say our URL. And check out our Cybertank offerings. We have a bunch of Pride Fest programming that's happening now through July 20th. So you've got plenty of time to check it all out. I want to say thank you to Hannah and Dylan and Greg for being here, for sharing, for just going for it and making this thing with these crazy people.
Anytime.
Thank you.
And to everyone at home, thanks for tuning in. And this is Cybertank. I'm Megan Finn. Tell your friends. Tell your friends about this lovely musical. Bye, everyone. Have a good Friday.
Bye.